Hi guys, it's Jennifer. Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be showing you how to make pastelillos de carne or empanadas de carne. It's basically the Puerto Rican beef patty. These things are loved by everyone as an appetizer or even as dinner with rice. It's fairly easy and it's a two-step process. So come learn how to do it with me, how I do it my way. And also, before we get started, if you haven't already subscribed to my channel, please subscribe. Click the notification bell so you can get future videos that I post, and hopefully you give me a thumbs up. So come on, let's get started. First, I started out with 4 tablespoons of sofrito and a half a teaspoon of oregano. Now I'm adding half a can of tomato sauce and a packet of sazon goya. We're basically putting our sofrito to cook. I'm adding 1/4 of a teaspoon of cumin, and I'm stirring. We're gonna put this to sofreír first, before anything. I'm adding a teaspoon of chicken bouillon to my sofrito. I like to do this to give it added flavor, and I'm adding olives. My olives have run out. If you noticed, I finished it. And I'm also going to add some of that olive juice. It's just something about that olive juice that just gives it a special something. Half a teaspoon of adobo goya. A 1/4 of a teaspoon of black pepper. And we're just going to stir it, and we're going to let it sofreír. I add my ground beef to the sofrito mixture. I know how some people will cook their beef first and then add the sofrito to it. I don't do it that way. I do it this way because your meat comes out juicier and softer. It doesn't come out so dry. We're just going to keep letting it cook. Now I happened to make it in this pot, so it was giving me a hard time. It was like it didn't want to like dry out. It was just saying so soft and moist. So I keep uncovering it, making sure that the meat cooks. I'm checking to make sure it's cooked through. So if you notice, you see how nice and moist my meat is. So I add a little salt. Salt is to your flavoring. You see how nice and soft the meat is, not dry. This is called picadillo. So the following day, I actually made this the day before, and I put it away in a Tupperware, and I took it back out, and now I cooked it in a caldero, and it dried out. So it's perfect. So now we're going to move on to step 2. Now that picadillo, you can also use it for other things. You can have it with white rice. You could put it in alcapurria or stuffed potatoes, which is relleno de papa. So what I do is I get aluminum foil and I start to take out my sheets. So I'm making about 20 of them. So I start to take out my aluminum sheets and I cut them into long square pieces like this in advance. And I put my picadillo to the side in a bowl. Have my rolling pin. These are the discs I'm using from Goya. I'm not making fresh dough. Today we're going to be using the Goya ones to show you how easy anybody can make this. And then I put out some aluminum foil. And we're just going to add a little bit of flour. So we're going to throw out some flour. I put a little too much flour. You don't need that much flour. So you're going to notice I'm going to start to put it to the side. So your disc look like this. I put some of the flour on my disc because I don't like to use it like this. You can. I like to roll them out and make them a little thinner. That way they just feel or taste a little more natural, like what it would really taste like if you made fresh dough. I don't like to see them so thick and those thick pieces. So I start to roll it out, and you'll notice me switch it from side to side to make it longer and longer, just a little bit. And I'll keep rolling it out slightly, and I'll dust off excess flour. I don't like to leave the flour on there. So I'll dust it off. You notice I put the flour to the side. Now we're going to take like a tablespoon. I like to put a lot of meat in my pastelillos or my empanadas. You're going to need a cup of water and a fork. So I'm going to show you so you guys can see your way. Normally I would do it the other way. So I'm going to flip it over. I'm going to press down against the edges. Now this is important because if you don't seal, I do it on my fingers first. Then I go back over with a fork. Because you're going to fry these. And if you don't seal them perfectly, what happens is when you start to fry them, the meat and stuff will come out, and then you've just ruined your pastelillo or your empanada. So I do both. I seal it, push down hard with my fingers, and then, or I just push down with my fingers, and then I start to do it with the fork. You're gonna go all around from one edge all the way to the other, making sure it's sealed. I'm putting that one to the side. I'm going to show you another one. So I've already rolled it out lengthwise. I'm going to fold it the other way, how I would normally do it. Now, I'm used to doing this, so I do these fast, but I'm going a little slow for you guys so you guys can see. And I hate little skinny pastelillos. So this is another way. So you can take water from the cup with your finger. It'll work like glue. Now you're going to push it down, seal it. It's almost like putting a glue, but you're still gonna seal it with your fork. And sometimes if you really want to make sure, you can do it on both sides. I normally get them good, so I only have to do it on one side. So now I'm going to show you how I fold them. We're going to put them in the aluminum like this. We're going to fold down one time like an envelope. I'm going to make sure that I feel for that crease. Fold down one more time to make sure that I don't fold the actual pastelillo, because you're going to freeze these. I keep feeling for the edges of the crease of the pastelillo. You see, you can notice it. Make sure you don't fold your pastelillo or your empanada, and then you fold it back as many times as you need to. That way, if you leave them in the freezer, that air or whatever doesn't get in as fast. I don't like that. I make sure I try to seal them as well as I can. And there's how I fold mine in paper. And then what I'll do is I'll put these in a, here's my daughter being a clown. She had to say hello. So I'll put those in freezer bags and put them in the freezer. When you want to use them, you just take them out and thaw them. So I took some and made some for my family that day. And I put them in a nonstick pan with some oil, and I have it down low. Now what's going to happen is if you take these out, like if you freeze them and you thaw them and you don't get to thaw them enough or they're frozen, first of all, they're going to jump up all over the place. But it's also like, this is when I should have taken it out, because if you have your flame too high, it'll start to get a little dark. Mine got a little dark after a while because I kept putting them back and leaving them. But I prefer them a little lighter. My husband and my daughter, they prefer them a little darker and crunchy, so you'll notice they're a little darker. This is pretty good. So I'm just putting a second batch. And if they're thawed out, this should cook pretty fast in like 3 to 5 minutes. So if you don't thaw them out, if you had them in the freezer and you don't thaw them out, what's going to happen is the outside will cook really fast and the inside won't. And there's another thing. If you've already made one batch, and this will start to happen to me, if you made one batch, they'll start to fry faster because that oil is very hot. So you got to learn how to fry them on really low. So this was the end product. I'm still frying more. but this was the end product, and they were so good. I just made these the other day and they're already gone because they've been frying them every day. They love when I make pastelillos. This is something that's so good to make, and so it can take a little time, but it's fairly easy. So I hope you guys try it. Let me know what you think. I'm telling you, you won't regret it. This is fantastic, and this is something you can always keep in your freezer. And if you want to make it with rice, you can. I want to take this time to give special thanks to some fellow YouTubers that actually watch me, and they're always giving support, and I thank them for it. One is Delicias de Nelly Doris. I love their channel. I'm addicted to it. I watch it all the time. So if you haven't checked them out, please check them out. They have some great recipes. I actually watch them all the time because her mom reminds me of my grandmother and my grandmother's family. And when I see them, I think I'm in the kitchen with my grandmother again as a kid. Also, want you guys to check out Cooking with Laura Lee. She is fantastic. She has some great recipes that are her own. That's all I can say. They're really something different. It's not your typical stuff that you're going to see all the time. If you don't know who they are, you can check them out in my comment section. Some of them write comments all the time to me. Please check them out. They're fantastic. Thank you, guys.